Good morning, everyone, and please welcome Tomer Bar, who will speak about OopsSec, the bad, the worst, and the ugly of APT's operational security.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for joining in this early Sunday morning. My name is Tomer Bar. I'm currently leading SafeBridge Labs as Director of Security Research, and my main focus is on vulnerability research and nation-state APT research. I will start with describing the research assumptions and approach. Then I will describe the operation security of a first APT threat actor, and continue with several examples of large-scale cybercrime threat actors. And then we'll return to different state-sponsored threat actors. Time permitting, we will end our talk with some lessons learned and open a Q&A session. The research state of mind is focused on understanding the adversaries, both nation states and cyber criminals that launch attacks on the Western world. If we can win this mind game, we can understand their plans, motives, tactics, and techniques. Every research starts with assumptions, so let's describe them. The first assumption is that advanced threat actor is not necessarily means strong operation security. The second assumption is that some threat actors are lazy and feel comfortable even after a research report was published about their activities, and we will see it later. And last, it will be a good idea to study them in their backyards in order to understand their plans, targets, damage control, and so on. This is the OopsSec meter I built for comparing different threat actors' operation security mistakes. The grade is from 0 bad points to 100 bad points. There are 10 categories. Each can give 10 maximum points. The categories measure how much data we can gather on victims, like attribute the attacker, identity, and how much we can influence their campaigns. So in the next hour, I will present APT threat actors from all around the globe, and I want to hear from you what you are thinking about the grade. So whenever you see the meter, you can just shout your grade from 0, which is the best, to 100, which is the worst grade. Okay, let's start. Our first threat actor is located in the Gaza Strip. It has been active since 2012, attacking both Windows and Android targets. In 2017, it was first discovered. The threat actor has self-developed a web panel with a two-factor authentication login. The problem was that navigating directly to the inner pages resulted in full access to the system with no authentication required. On the right, it's hard to see, but there are exfiltrated keylogs of the victims. Quantum leap to 2022, the threat actor is still active, masquerading as a Google Play app. The malware was uploaded from Gaza by one of the victims or by the attackers for testing purposes. The certificate was also signed in Gaza. The malware has plenty of collection capabilities: SMS, call logs, contacts, record audio, and much more. The exfiltration is done via HTTP post request. It's hard to see, but this is the first hint that I found that the threat actor is not aware of the importance of operation security. By surfing to the root page of one of the C2 servers, I got this error revealing part of the web server public directory structure. The malware exfiltrates data to this URL via post. So the Laravel code, which is the backend PHP code, expects a post request. But when sending a GET request, instead, an error invokes and exposes the MySQL DB credential. So I said, what's that? All C2 servers are vulnerable. Here are the credentials of the Windows-based victims database. On 2017, the first stage malware code downloaded the second step malware named ddd.zip from the C2 server pal4u.net. The name of the folder was 5 times the letter Z. On 2022, a subdomain of the same domain was used, app.pal4u.net. This time, the CCC directory holds all the victim exfiltrated data, which is amazing. I was able to map almost 8,000 victims, most of them in Gaza, but others in other Middle Eastern countries. It was a very targeted attack. Almost 500 compressed megabyte is the average exfiltrated size per day. My estimation is that the total size of exfiltrated data is between 2 tera to 3 terabytes compressed data. Another very common OopsSec mistake is opendir C2 server. As we can see, this C2 was updated at February 2022. Let's check if this is a one-time mistake. And of course not. There was a lot of servers here in these VT graphs. But one of the subdomain, it's called Tawaji, was also opendir and include a 12 megabyte Tawaji zip file, which includes the full backend logic. So this is a double mistake. Not only that it's opendir, but if you have an opendir web server, you cannot download the backend size. You cannot download the PHP. But when the threat actor work for you and compress it and store it in the root dir, you can download all the backend code. So actually, the upload file logic is done well in the green, using unique ID to randomize the uploaded file names and making it difficult for hackers to find a potential web shell they uploaded. The upload itself is limited to a specific file type by a whitelist. So this is good. On the other end, the Node.js reveals the upload path of where the files will be uploaded to, which is a bad practice. Okay, let's see the demo. Okay, it will be fast. Just surfing to CCC, choosing a file by date. You can see that there are hundreds of megabytes for each file. Fast forward, we'll extract all files. There is a password, but it's crackable. And here we can see a lot of files extracted. For each victim, have a folder with the ID of the victim. And we'll just sort it, see the files, and we'll open one to ensure that it's a real data. Just a second. Okay. Okay, so what do you think the bad patch OopsSec grade should be? 40, 30. Okay, it's around. So we gave it 47, as you can see. And let's continue to the next threat actor. And now I will be focused on threat actor cybercrime activity in Iran. I will describe the 5 steps of the infection chain, one by one, and the OopsSec mistake they have made during attacking. So on the left is a very partial list of C2 server that were live at the time of the check. It was in the middle of January this year. One of them stores the entire code, again, on pay.zip file at the C2 server root. So we see it's a common mistake by different threat actors. Victims are found in different second-hand online market sites. One of them is devour.ir. So people publish they want to sell something with their number for contact, and on the left you can see a script that extracts phone numbers from published ads on Devour using Devour API, and the script on the right will send them a threat or phishing test message via Telegram. The full victim list is textual and downloadable. Phone numbers of victims are available in the user.lst file. But actually more surprising, the C2 server's internal files are also exposed. Even the bash history command is available for download. So I said, what's that? I found plenty of smishing lures, threat of arrest in 72 hours, and this is Iran, right? COVID-19 payments, and even dating site. When the victim tries to chat, he will be threatened to pay, or his details will be sent to the government, and he is redirected to a payment part of the site. The sites are all opened here. The payment allegedly can only be done via an Android app that is downloaded when the victim fills his details. This is a dual attack: spy on SMS to get the two-factor authentication codes, and redirect to payment on the attacker's fake site to phish the victim's credit card. Decompiling the Android malware, we can see that the resource file holds the phishing URL page. Here is the PHP page that uploads the victim's SMS messages to the C2 server using, this time, a hard-coded text file name. We'll see later that it's not always hard-coded. The exfiltration SMS are textual, predictable, and downloadable. The file used here is lydiateam.txt. We'll come to it later. We can also see the incoming SMS messages. In this case, on the bottom, it's a little bit small, but they sent 60 phishing messages to the same victim, again and again, until he was infected. This is the fake payment site, masquerading as legit government pay site. The victim is allegedly redirected to a legit government pay site, but this page is fake, as you can see, and his credit card is stolen. So let's look at the backend side. The credit card details are collected and sent to the attacker's Telegram group. The subject of each exfiltration is new card received with a typo, which will help us later on. User credentials are also exfiltrated, and also SMS and other victims' data. Querying the Telegram group using Telegram bot API includes a valid invite link. So I said, yeah, the victim's SMS, data, and credit cards are exfiltrated to several different Telegram groups. The data Telegram group is misconfigured to display all group members or hackers without even joining the group. The card group includes 14 members. The SMS and data group are not private. All members are administrators. Everybody is welcome to join, but without access to the messages. So I thought to myself, let's try to join. So I joined with my real name, you can see it, to both groups, but there was no access to messages by new members. Then I found that the card group is not private, and all data is accessible via the Telegram bot API function called getUpdates. Then I found the so good Telegram group, which seems like the main group. Pay attention to the Baba Zorro username. We will focus on it later on. Indeed, so good. This group allows access to all messages without being required to join first. Hundreds of credit card details are listed there. On the left, we can see that one of the sites was detected as malicious by the browser, and the hackers speak about it. They are very disappointed. On the right, we can see shared malware files and attackers' voice messages. A deeper analysis revealed massive activity, hundreds of malware samples, and the C2 server's infrastructures. Those Telegram groups are just the tip of the iceberg. A simple Google search reveals that Lydia Team is a user who is active in the Professor Phishing Telegram group, which includes 50,000 members. Searching for new card received in Google with intentional typo as seen before returned with Zalem phishing. The results include stolen credit card data. Yeah. Baba Zoro, our So Good team member, is the owner of Zalem Phishing Telegram group with 30,000 members. So he's a big player. I found many Iranian phishing groups, some with a few members and up to 80,000 members. The large groups are usually used for exchanging or selling phishing kits, and the smaller group are more intimate, and you can get the juice there. I was able to join all groups, like dozens, using my real name, except one group called Must Leak, which requires approval by an admin, manual admin. So I sent him a join request and got approval, so I have 100%. Decompiling the malware and a focus on a Lydia text class, which seems like a relevant part of the code because they are using third-party libraries as well. So the exfiltrated SMS messages were uploaded to the C2 server. The randomization was done on the malware side, which is a big mistake. No victim's unique data was used. The file name was a number with 5 digits. So I developed a simple brute force tool to download all the exfiltrated files. This is the Android C2 server, which is based on the Firebase API and Telegram bot API and was developed in Python. Let's talk about a little bit about attribution. One of the attackers is Amin Ranjabar. He is testing his malware on his own machine, which is a big no-no. One of the SMS is from the hosting provider, confirming his new registered domain, sanairan.xyz, which serves as a C2 server. So now I know it's an attacker. Here we can see the attacker's account number in the National Bank of Iran, his phone number, and full address. Pay attention to the numbers. We'll see it soon. The attackers also offers hacking services in a third-party site called Professional Hackers using the same phone number. So we have a bingo here. It appears that Lydia Team is selling and promoting their phishing and Android malware services with 3 possible plans, from basic plan to a full phishing as a service. They offer dozens of phishing kits for customers, and on the right you can see the list of sites that they copied. For example, Instagram account phishing, but a lot more. They used a pyramid structure. The bot is given for use in return for 20% of the collected credit card. So I think that's the way that we see a lot of infrastructures and C2 servers in Iran, because it's like a pyramid structure, and they are at the head of the pyramid there. Okay, we ask ourselves if the Telegram bot API is commonly used by other threat actors. So a simple pivoting on api.telegram.org using virus total graph provide us with a positive answer. We found two types. The first type was executable with hard-coded Telegram API tokens and chat IDs, which is a bad practice, like giving your passwords to all your secrets as an attacker, and C2 backend kits. According to Nextron Yara rules hunting statistics, there are hundreds of suspicious binaries a day using the Telegram API. And the second type, C2 server, I developed a small automation script to download all chats and check if they are still active, because some were old. The first interesting case was the Ukraine logs group. This group is using malware to steal cryptocurrency from victim machines using malware. So let's speak about the malware. The first info stealer C2 server uses file names randomization when storing a victim exfiltrated file. The path is almost impossible to be guessed, but we will see later that I could also still download all of the exfiltrated files. Then it will download and execute a second stealer called Mars stealer for stealing two-factor authentication and cryptocurrency. It searches for wallet.dat files and, in addition, extract them from different Chrome browser extensions. We'll see it later. The Mars stealer code is packed with unknown packer. The main function was even too big to even be displayed in IDA graph, but locating the correct address in which to place the breakpoint was quite easy. This info stealer implements interesting checks. Anti-emulation against Windows Defender using the HAL90H, which is a fixed computer name used by the emulator. It will also exit if it's being run from Russia and nearby countries based on checking the language, and also implement expiration checks, limits to 1 month from compile time. If you try to run it over a month, then it won't work. The attack is still ongoing. This is a tool to deobfuscate strings, and the sample is not public, and the C2 server was not known until now. Actually, they stopped the attack during the Russian-Ukraine war, and they continue now to attack people. I also found a Telegram group API key used by this group to exfiltrate screen captures. The loader also download and execute the final Golang info stealer from a legit site. The Golang malware is a cookie stealer which steals OAuth tokens and infects victim on large scale, mostly via YouTube links. As we saw, Golang malware was indeed a reversing nightmare for me. So thank Jags, I learned a lot and will implement it soon. We can see that before running the IDA script, we had 8,300 unrecognized function, and after running rename function, we got 2,000 renames, and this helped me, but it's just a partial work. The infection vector is through publishing YouTube links to encrypted executable. As we can see, there were 20,000 results only for the 0909 password encrypted malware instance, and there were plenty of it. So it's a big scale. This threat actor also published the links at crypto-app related site, which seemed reasonable, and other video sharing platform as well. These are examples of different malware hosted on the file sharing sites. On the bottom, you can see the names. It's Kraken, which probably crack in any language, in Russian. Setup and Xboot were commonly used. Back to the info stealer loader code. We used the Telegram API, this time getChat function, and got the invite link. I was able to join the attacker Telegram group and become the 10th member for months. I was able to download all past messages and get in real time all messages from now on. On the left is the configuration of the malware. We can see that it was configured to collect screen captures and victims' environmental data, such as OS, IP, hardware ID, and so on. In the middle and on the right, you can see the exfiltrated victim screenshots and exfiltrated environmental data from the attacker's Telegram group. Using a simple tool to download all victim screen captures, I was able to download 35,000 screen captures. We can see some example of the stolen data, which includes both cryptocurrency and NFT theft. Hundreds of wallets were exfiltrated. Top balances can reach thousands of US dollars. The attacker exfiltrated the 12-word passphrase of the MetaMask wallet and password as well. And now the attacker can control the victim's wallet, can do everything he wants. 27% of the victims are located in the US. The exfiltrated cookies are for a wide range of services, from PayPal to Amazon, games, banks, cryptocurrency wallets, Google Pay, and Stake.com, which runs crypto betting platform. Going back to the exfiltrated data that we saw before by the first info stealer, strong randomization is a good idea, but won't help the attacker this time due to two errors. They are storing the exfiltrated data in downloadable path, and they don't copy it to an unreachable path in the C2 server, and they share the full path in Telegram groups, so just that you have a link to download them. The first indication of the attacker origin is that all C2 servers were located in Russia. In addition, the spoken language of the attacker is Russian, which they try to hide by replacing it to English after a while. I was able to discover the attacker's IP located in Russia. The first 8,000 of the exfiltrated data messages originated from the same IP in Russia, which was used by the attackers for testing purposes and later on as a C2 server. On the bottom, we can see that this red line info stealer connects to the same IP address. Another interesting attribution data item is the red line stealer bot ID, which is called Onyx 0.1. Using the Telegram bot API function getChatAdministrator, we found that this group has 6 administrators. One of them is Onyx 0. Onyx is a creator of threads for selling stolen tokens. The second admin is P2 Memory, who is chatting with him on LOL's site. Ukraine Logs is the bot, which is administrator. I could create, edit, or revoke the invite link. I can also temporarily take it down by blocking all members, or I can even set a webhook to automatically transfer all messages to safebridge.com, which, as you can see, was done successfully. They temporarily lost all victims, since most of them were configured to exfiltrated only to the Telegram group, but they could easily recover from it. Anyone wants to give a score? Okay, it's early morning. So I gave it 65. They did a lot of mistakes. Okay, moving on to a Turkish threat actor, which uses Telegram API to steal cryptocurrency with 0 infection. So it's a different method, and they get the same results. The PHP code redirects the exfiltrated data from the C2 web server to a Telegram group, and in addition, the PHP code saves it to a local C2 server file named test.txt. The victim clicks on the Connect Wallet button on the top right and enter the MetaMask passphrase. This is a phishing page which writes the passphrase to the text.txt local file. The attackers are paying Google for advertising their phishing site. The C2 server is the third result in the Google search above. And this is the account on Google. They also target victims in Twitter and other social networks via Twitter ads. For example, as we can see on the right, the ads includes a link to their MetaMask phishing site. So by now, you know the drill. I joined via the invite link and downloaded all messages. But after a short while, they sent me a message in Turkish, and I was immediately kicked out. So is it the end? So I was very surprised. I wrote a script to automatically download updates using the Get Updates API, and I was surprised that I was able to monitor all the messages in the group for a few months until today. So when you kick out a user from the group in the UI, it does not affect the API. And the script also translates the message from Turkish to English, the one that I wrote. And the bot API also probably reveals the attacker's running wallet address and passphrase. And on the bottom, they also share additional wallet address that they use. This was just the beginning. The main C2 server includes 400 phishing domains added daily from October 2021 and still active. As you can see, Tesla and the step N is just example of if you run, you will get Bitcoins, just connect your wallet, and you don't get Bitcoins at the end. The attackers plan the entire attack in details. They stole $30,000 in a short while, and then the boss set a target of $100,000 for this week. And on the bottom, we can see that they share the admin credentials to manage different C2 servers. Thank you. But credentials are not required. All the threat actor C2 server have opSec mistakes, revealing all the stolen user passphrases. This is another example of an unconfigured Laravel backend exposing the DB credential and app key when the expected parameter is not provided. The same exposed data is accessible by browsing to the .env file, which is a fixed name of a file in Laravel. The threat actor invested a lot of efforts in phishing NFT. The attacker is bragging in the Telegram group that he has just stolen 25 Ethereum using a malicious copy of a famous NFT site. As we can see, the C2 server is opened here. The main JScript is long, just a snip of it, includes the threat actor's wallet address. And the wallet has already been marked as suspicious wallet with fake phishing 5431 identity. They did 600 transactions in 8 days. But although it was known to be suspicious, I didn't get any warning when I tried to connect and put my password in, fake one. They also shared the address in Telegram group, proving that this is the activity of our threat actor. They are using different services in order to turn the stolen cryptocurrency into cash, including virtual credit cards and laundering sites. We can see the attacker's wallet address and withdrawal operations. Then I found the second phishing server, which is still active, and implementing crypto scams in a lot of other methods. First method, they promise to provide profit if you just send them your crypto. They will give you interest or something like this. Here is another example of active phishing, which is done a bit differently using additional Telegram groups. They also build a pyramid scheme. They recruit members via a promise of payment or services for enrolling others into the scheme. Each member is allegedly participating in mining cryptocurrency based on the Tron protocol. The attackers share the entire C2 server code, including victims' databases. The info table stores the victim private key, and the Kulinachi table, we can see that in a simple Google search, that's the admin password to manage the C2 server, hash is actually the password 123456. Okay? The login leads to a Chester Phoenix admin panel, which query the local collected victims' wallets DB. Additional groups and databases are used. Our attacker also uploaded web shells to different vulnerable sites in Europe and the US. On May 25, they plan to plant a backdoor in the PHP to log the phishing data. So let's talk a little bit about attribution. The entire conversation in the Telegram group is in Turkish. We can see that the attackers are not using VPNs to manage their C2 servers. So the cPanel last login file includes the IP addresses from Turkey. So they probably live in Ankara. Those two members joined the Telegram group for a short while. One of them is a member of the TurkAx forum and also may have registered domain under the name Mahmet Khan, which is known as a member of the Anonymous Turkey. And sometimes you get to know your adversaries more than you ever expected. Okay, somebody want to shout the score? Give me a chance to drink water. 87, no, 65. Similar to Ukraine logs, but in different categories. But let's move on to the worst player. So this is a Tunisian threat actor. He has done unbelievable mistakes. A simple virus total query resulted in hundreds of similar JScript phishing scripts classified as CryXOS. So it's not a small campaign, it's not huge, but it's not small. And JS sent the credentials to a Telegram group and also to hacked websites, a lot of hacked websites. Among dozens of C2 server, I finally found an OpenDIR C2 server, and also they did the double mistake and added the Excel zip file, and it's downloadable and includes all the backend code, and also the webmail account that they send all the exfiltrated data. On the bottom is an example of a blurred Excel file, which phish the victim credentials. The C2 server also reveals the credentials gathered in an HTML file. So thank you. And this is another example of masquerading as a OneDrive, which you have to log in order to access the files. And then they phish your credentials. As you probably guessed, I joined the Telegram group and downloaded all exfiltrated credentials and photos. 12,000 victims were mapped since 2020. The webhook of the attacker can be changed, but the most interesting part was that the attacker is using his real name. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was able to first find out that he was a freelancer offering his services, but then I found that he works in a legit consulting company by day. They have branches in Europe as well. On the right and bottom are print screens that he sent to himself in the Telegram group alongside the victim exfiltrated data. The same Google Cloud certification is published in his LinkedIn profile. So you have a bingo. And on the bottom is a print screen that he sent himself, and one of the tab is his private Facebook account with his name. So whatever you do, never test your phishing kits on your work webmail. Okay, so this is the worst we have seen, and we got 78 bad points out of possible 100. Okay, let's go back from cybercrime into nation-state APTs. So the first case is Rampant Kitten, which is an Iranian threat actor focused on phishing Telegram credentials of targets, which is the Iranian Islamic regime seems as a threat. I did a the first published was by Checkpoint, and I did a parallel research that found other stuff, and I never published it. This is the first time. The FTP incoming directory is located under the web server HTTP root path. So this is terrible for them because the malware includes the hard-coded user and password in clear text to connect to the FTP in order to exfiltrate the files. And this means that uploading a web shell via the FTP will potentially allow execution of code through surfing via HTTP to the web shell because it's located under the web root of the web server. I also found that the threat actor exfiltrated victims' data in clear text to a downloadable location. They used 4 steps for the phishing. The third step phished the Telegram code, and the final step phished the user password for Telegram. I also found that even the code was downloadable. It's a .NET code. After decompiling it, we got the email address of the attackers and their credentials. Okay, we'll skip the score. The second Iranian threat actor is called Power Churchill. I found it in late 2021, and they used MS-HTML vulnerability, that was 0-day, I think, at the time, for infecting Farsi-speaking victims with Power Churchill data collection script. The threat actor also used phishing campaigns for collecting Gmail and Instagram credentials. Here is a theoretical exploitation vector based on the ASPX source. Upload the web shell via HTTP and execute it also via HTTP. Due to 2 opSec mistakes. First, all file types are allowed to be uploaded, and the second is the directory traversal vulnerability. So actually, I think about it as where what vulnerability. Okay, let's talk about phishing. They store the stolen credential, of course, in a clear text file, out.txt, on the C2 web root. But when phishing 2-factor authentication, it's different because the temporary code is sent via SMS, which is valid only for a short period. The attackers are required to use it in real time, and this may be difficult for them. So they think about actually a brilliant idea, simple, but works. The attackers develop browser automation for automatic signing using the temporary credentials. They misconfigured the C2 server, and the code was available for download as well. First, the phishing JavaScript code will call the check function of the social function DLL, it's a .NET file, with username, password, and country code of the victim. The check function logs the credential in clear text to a downloadable location. It will copy the attacker's predefined Google Chrome profile-based directory to a new profile directory in the C2 server and add a new account using the same country and user agent used by the victim in order to bypass Apple security checks. Then it will use Selenium Web Chrome driver to log in to the victim's Apple account using the built-in victim Chrome account. First, it will find the Apple ID and password fields in the UI, and then use sendKeys function to fill the victim phished credentials and click the sign in button. This is all automatically done. This is the automation in action. And the victim will get SMS codes from the iCloud and will type them, and then the code will capture it and will type it again, calling other functions like verify SMS and others. And eventually it will call the logged in function to check if the login was successful. The code will add a profile to the active profiles, and from that point, the attacker unlimited access to the iCloud account of the victim. So I shared this data 3 times with Apple and haven't got a response yet. Let's move to the last threat actor. I think it's the most interesting case. This is the Infy Iranian threat group, which is probably the most persistent Iranian APT ever discovered. The first campaign was started at 2007, and it's still active after 15 years. The victims are individuals and organizations which are seen as a threat to the Islamic regime. There were hundreds of victims in 35 countries. 30% or even more were in Iran. Infy was singled in 2015 by myself, and as you can see, all victims were singled to an Israeli server. A unique evidence that Infy is a government-sponsored is that they regain control over the lost victim endpoints in Iran by manipulating the traffic in the central Iranian network company and redirecting the single of Iranian victims to a new C2 server by their own, before the traffic to reach a DNS server outside of Iran. The lesson was completely learned. After 2015 takedown, the Iranian analyzed their failures and come back in 2017 with a much secure opSec infrastructure. The first infection is done by a first-stage malware called Fowder. Fowder is lighting in French, which we may better know than myself, which gather environmental data from the victim machine and keylogs. If the victim is valuable, then the second stage malware is installed with full surveillance capabilities, including exfiltration of files over HTTP, NFTP, print captures, audio recordings, and much, much more. And the name of the second stage malware is Toner. So the lightning brings the thunder. That's the internal names for the tools. So Fowder and Toner implement two anti-takedown capabilities. The first capability is common. It's a DGA. Every week, 100 new C2 server domain names are generated using a DGA algorithm. And this is the Fowder DGA algorithm, and Toner uses similar algorithm as well. The date is derived from legit RSS feed of a worldwide news site. In case that the date in the victim machine is not updated, and it will generate the wrong domain name, and they will lost connection to the victims. They will lost the control of the victims. The second anti-takedown capability is much more interesting and unique, and if you know other threat actors that use it, please tell me about it later. The threat actor implemented C2 signature verification defense. First, the malware downloads signature files, decrypt it using embedded RSA public key to get the real domain name, and then comparing it to the domain the malware downloaded the signature files from. This way, the malware verifies that this C2 server is a verified domain and not a takeover domain. If it sees it as a taken over domain, it will skip it and will try each one of the 100 weekly domains. Fowder and Toner implements the anti-takedown also during update malware version process and during any data transmitted from or to the C2 server. For example, Toner downloads via HTTP the new IP address of the FTP C2 server, including RSA signature, and verifies the IP address before connecting to the C2 server, so you cannot tamper it. The implication of this very strong OPSec security are that security researchers in the last 5 years don't have ability to do a lot. Syncall is not useful due to C2 verification and asymmetric encryption key. Only if you have the private key you can generate the signatures, and I predict the next DGAs and bought this domain name, and I only got the IP addresses of the victims that tried to download the signature files, but I could not bypass the RSA signature check, of course. And the exfiltrated data is encrypted with an asymmetric key. So even if I could done it, the content is unreadable. During 2017 and 2021, there were several publications of new Fowder and Toner version by different companies different vendors, but Infy was attacking victims with no interference, as much as I know. Recently, I found the weakest link in Infy chain, the transmission of files from the C2 server in Europe to the attackers in Iran. I found out that the C2 server, which is a VPS only, used by Infy, also contains two backend domains, which are not part of Fowler and Toner DGA domains. This is strange. The name were log1host and is used by Fowler for logs, and f1host for Toner. The F is probably for files. I found out that the C2 server also used as an infection server for the second stage of the attack. So they host the Toner file there, binary there. So I was also able to guess the predictable name, which include T for Toner and the version number, which was 15, and download it. And also was able to decrypt the binary, which had a very strong password, because they used it in previous version of Toner, which I had. And that way, we knew that the two backend domains are not used by the newest version of Toner. So log1host and f1host are used by the attackers to download and delete exfiltrated victim files. The C2 server includes a PHP backend script called fdir.php, which is protected by a guessable password. The script provides a dir list of the exfiltrated files and also ability to delete those files after downloading to Iran. The automatic script used by the threat actor works in different cadences, but usually the files are downloaded and deleted from the C2 server every 10 minutes. I was able to download all Toner and Fowler exfiltrated files over a period of 4 months and save them automatically, sorted by victim, and it's still going on. All files are encrypted with RSA public key and obfuscated, but I found that Toner files includes obfuscated metadata, which is not encrypted. So one of the interesting victims was located in Sweden. The victim is a Windows server hosting a Titan FTP server and a mini HTTP web server, and we can see the username, host name, machine GUID, Toner version, and exfiltrated file names, but the content is still encrypted. This attacker also tests his own computers and infect it with probably a malicious word file with a macro, which is a known infection vectors used by this threat actor for years. And the word file name is Moljun Sarbazi, which is a known opposition leader to Iran Islamic regime and was probably used as a lure team to infect other oppositioners. We found files from computers named test and user and test2, which were used by the attacker. On March 21, hundreds of screenshots of WhatsApp, Telegram, X Plus Messenger, Chrome, and Instagram from October 2021 till March 2022 were exfiltrated, probably indicating of a new capability of taking screen captures automatically when the victim is using one of the social network applications or browsing it. We also found that we don't have the latest version, number 16. We also found a new C2 capability and were able to view the connection logs of different victims. The threat actor copied the C2 server on April 1, tried to do some changes. The log1host and the f1host backend domains were not available until May 25, but during that time, I was still able to download all exfiltrated files using the DGA domain names, and they also changed the default page of the new C2 server, and they indicate that they are using CyberPanel, and they are really doing it. To conclude, even the most secure operation security campaign I've ever seen include mistakes that allowed us to generate heat map and map all victims, achieve latest malware binaries, achieve access to attacker testing infrastructure, understand future phishing lures, achieve access to file names from testing machine and attribute the attacker, ability to delete all exfiltrated files, but after a short while the attacker could block us, ability to change exfiltrated files by uploading our own encrypted files. We know the names, the key is the same, and overwrite existing ones. But the bottom line is I cannot perform a long-term takedown anymore. So let's see a short demo. Don't have a lot of time. Okay, so it's small. So this is my script. First, I download all the dir lists of exfiltrated file from the C2 server. Then I will add the all parameter and will start downloading files. So there's a logic there to download only new files, only interesting victims, because it becomes like a lot of gigs of data. So you can see that it's working. And now I will skip a little bit. I will open it with a different script and deobfuscate it. Just a second. And we'll open it with Notepad. And we can see some of it is Unicode, so I didn't bother to fix it, but you can see also the temp files are the screenshots. Okay, let's move on. I'm just about to finish my talk. Okay, so they only got 27 negative points. And I would like to credit these past researchers. Their findings helped me a lot during the research process. And if we have 2 minutes, I will go over some of the session learned from it. So not only APTs and cybercrime actors do a lot of mistakes. I tried to find those mistakes in legit sites and found thousands of vulnerable Laravel sites in this case. OpenDir, 33 million OpenDir sites. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but it's by a Google search. 10 million of them are Lightspeed OpenDir, and 2 million are Apache OpenDir. And this one is the mistake of FTP incoming equals the web root. And I found a potential FTP site. It's a governmental site. I think it's a US site. You can log in using anonymous user. No password is required. Error handling. A lot of sites are vulnerable to these mistakes. They are unconfigured. And crypto phishing, while it's a new attack comparison to other attack vector, it's very prevalent and dangerous. And there are 100 known accounts that are known to be a phishing account. And the total balance now worth $23 million after they stole much of the victims' money. And there are a lot of tools in order to mitigate and detect scam sites, but it's not automatical. And you can try to use it. I didn't use it myself. But I analyzed the phishing domains and calculate Levingston distance. So I won't get into it, but only a one distance between a legit and a phishing site resulted in a lot of sites. So I think that we can develop such a mechanism to detect it and block it and protect users. Thank you. Okay, you can reach me out later on, and I will be happy to answer any question that you have. Thank you.